You ever had a moment where the world just splits in two, like everything you thought you knew about safety neighbors? Even justice just crumbles in front of your eyes. That's what happened to us on Sycamore Ridge Circle, a picture-perfect neighborhood that turned out to be anything but. It was last Saturday at 2:37 p.m. when the rake landed against Muffin's ribs 3 times before my daughter Penelope came running, and her screams, they weren't just fear, they were the sound of a kid reliving her worst trauma in real time, watching her one anchor get torn apart. So if you're here for another happy community story, you might want to brace yourself. What you're about to hear is how a so-called housing association compliance officer turned our world into a profit machine, and how it all unraveled publicly, violently, with the whole block as witness. You see, our drama started because Margot Beaumont, the compliance queen herself, found out my daughter's therapy dog was treating conditions she could bill for, but she never figured the county sheriff had already been tracking her for months. Before I dive into what the sheriff uncovered, you gotta know this isn't just about a dog getting hurt or a child being harassed. This is about what happens when families like mine with kids already fighting invisible battles become open season for predators disguised as community leaders. Penelope, my daughter, survived a car wreck that killed her mom a year and a half ago. I was the one driving. Some drunk ran a red light and changed our lives forever. Pen's had PTSD ever since panic attacks that show up out of nowhere, days where she won't speak at all, and nightmares that used to keep both of us up for weeks. Muffin came to us through the VA's service dog program, not just as a comfort animal, but as her early warning system. He could sense her panic coming before she even realized it herself, wake her from those terror-fueled dreams, and just, put himself between her and the world when it got too loud. Little Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, all brown eyes and patience, understood Pen's trauma better than most people ever could. We'd only been in Sycamore Ridge 6 months, chose it for the ramps, the quiet, the brochures promising trauma-informed community. Margot met us day one, all smiles and questions, promising the world. The act lasted exactly 2 weeks. Then Thursday morning, the first citation showed up: medical equipment violations, unauthorized meds. She called out our bathroom cabinet, made it sound like I was running some kind of criminal pharmacy. When I called to explain that everything was stored per the doctor's instructions, her assistant hit me with a compliance evaluation, $3,000 for her preferred consultants to review our case. A week later, Muffin got cited. Unlicensed medical device operation, as if a dog giving my kid comfort was some kind of black market scam. Another week, another citation: inadequate medical supervision, which is code for why isn't your child in one of the profit mill residential facilities. Our partners recommend. Each letter came with steeper fines, threats about child protective services, and legal jargon meant to scare you into just giving up. But the paperwork, that was just camouflage for something way worse, an entire machine built to turn kids' suffering into a payday. I started piecing things together at a so-called community meeting. I was early hoping to get Margot alone, but instead I overheard her talking on the phone, saying the patient acquisition timeline needs to accelerate, talking about commission structures and how PTSD diagnoses are worth $75,000 a year in ongoing billing. I recorded the rest. She wasn't talking about helping families. She was orchestrating a business using our kids' records without consent to funnel them into profit-driven facilities. Turns out Sheriff Rebecca Donaldson had already been tracking this, following Margot's trail through a string of suspicious HOA violations that just so happened to force families out of insurance coverage right when the biggest bills hit. Our neighborhood wasn't a safe haven. It was a hunting ground for people like Margot, people who see trauma as a cash cow. After that, the gloves came off. Margot started organizing health assessments, teams of folks in scrubs taking pictures of our home, focusing weirdly on Pen and Muffin. She claimed therapeutic evaluations were needed, sent uninvited experts to observe Pen's routines, each one documenting that home care fell short. Our property got ringed with hidden biometric sensors feeding data to a house 5 doors down hers. Surveillance got so bad, our tech guy flagged it as a hospital-grade network. She was building a case to say we couldn't handle Penelope at home. First, she sabotaged Pen's backyard therapy spot with chemicals. Stuff specifically designed to trigger panic in PTSD patients, placed just so to escalate her anxiety for the cameras. Muffin, thank God, sensed the danger and got her out before it peaked. Cops shrugged it off as accidental, of course. Next, Margot filed complaints with CPS and our insurer accusing me of neglect. Suddenly, we had investigators in our home for 12 straight days, scrutinizing everything, insurance threatening to drop us if we didn't accept residential care at Surprise, one of Margot's partner facilities. Both ended up ruling in our favor, but the point was never to win. It was to create a paper trail for the next crisis. The last straw came when Muffin collapsed. Vet said antifreeze poisoning somebody had slipped it in his water dose just right to cause Max suffering in front of Penn, hoping she'd break down and prove I couldn't care for her. But our cameras caught someone in scrubs on our property carrying vet supplies acting like they belonged. Too far to ID, but clearly an insider. Margot didn't know the sheriff was waiting for her to cross the final line. On Saturday, HOA inspection day, Margot showed up with a garden rake claiming she was authorized to prevent animal cruelty by putting Muffin down herself. Penelope was outside barely holding it together after days without her therapy dog when Margot raised that rake and struck. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Muffin didn't even try to run. He shielded my daughter like he always did. What happened next is almost cinematic. Sheriff Donaldson came out from behind our neighbor's shed, weapon drawn, having filmed the assault on her body cam. "Mrs. Beaumont, you're under arrest for animal cruelty, child endangerment, and conspiracy to commit medical fraud," she said, as backup fanned out from all corners. Right then, the person who'd been feeding the sheriff info, the pediatric psychiatrist who'd treated Penelope all along, Dr. Miranda Blackstone, revealed she'd been undercover for a year documenting every violation, every time Margot manufactured a crisis for profit. They raided Margot's home, found files on 68 kids in our area alone. Diagnoses, behavioral notes, and payment contracts, with facilities shelling out up to $75,000 a kid. This wasn't some one-off. Her racket stretched across state lines, with a shell company funneling money and data through a web of health partners. The federal case grew overnight, eventually uncovering networks in 31 states with over 800 kids targeted and $60 million in fraud. Margot's defense. She said she was facilitating necessary care that families can't provide the structure these kids need. No remorse, just anger that her patient acquisition was now a crime. The jury took all of 39 minutes to find her guilty, 18 years for fraud, racketeering, cruelty, and endangerment. Her partners got 5 to 12 years each, depending on how deep they were in. The trial turned national. Dr. Blackstone and other experts testified about how this wasn't just bad policy, it was organized, intentional trauma. The Penelope Protection Act got passed, making it a federal crime to target kids like this, requiring third-party oversight for all facility referrals, and setting up a watchdog database. Sycamore Ridge became the national model for real trauma-informed care. Dr. Blackstone now runs the new ethics board. Sheriff Donaldson was promoted, and Muffin fully recovered, trained service dogs for other families. The garden where it all happened is now a memorial, a real place for healing and learning. And you want to know what hit me most? Penelope, who barely spoke for months, addressed the court herself. She told Margot straight up, "You hurt my dog because you wanted to steal kids from their families. But Muffin is brave, and I'm brave, and we protect each other. That's what real families do." Yeah, that happened, and the room went silent. Margot cried for the first time, not for what she did, but because she realized she'd lost. Today, Penn's thriving. The scars are there, sure, but so is her voice. Muffin helps train dogs for kids who need the kind of hope we almost lost. And if you walk through our garden, you'll see flowers for every kid who made it through, plus warnings for every parent, so nobody ever falls for another Margot Beaumont. So now I'm asking, where do you draw the line between help and harm? Is it about following rules or protecting families from the kind of predators hiding behind those rules? Share your story. Tell us where you stand. Because the more we talk about it, the less chance anyone like Margot has to do this again.